our speaker? She disappeared. She's here. Maybe we swim after?
Good. Hello. Good morning. Please join me as we settle into our shared sacred space. Is this working, Miguel? It's good? Okay, good. Welcome, everybody. My name is Ann Packham. I'm going to be your service leader today. Welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. I've been a member here about 12 or 13 years. This is a great place to call your spiritual home. And so I welcome all of our visitors. We'll have a chance to meet and greet a little bit later. Just a few housekeeping rules before we settle in. We have emergency exits at the door that you came in, as well as out in the back there, in the Memorial Garden, as well as the door back here. Also a reminder, if you are not feeling well, you can be with us on Zoom instead. So that's an opportunity. If you're not feeling well and you don't want to spread those bad germs to anybody else, then you can stay home and join us on our Zoom community. And I think those are the major announcements. Before we get into the actual service itself, we give our committees an opportunity to share with us what's going on briefly at the microphone. So are there any committee chairs that would like to do that?
Not exactly committee chair, but from SAC, we just want to, every once in a while, we're going to get up here and remind you that if you vote by mail, remember, you have to re-register. They're making it as difficult as possible, so be sure you re-register before the next election. You'll hear this again.
Margie, with membership, next Saturday, if you're interested in helping out with membership and getting involved, please come on out to my place, 4209 Lake Lockhart Drive. Reverend Kathy will be there. We will be discussing how you can get involved, how we want to improve membership and make the experience more enjoyable for everybody. I need greeters, so if anybody is able to greet during the rest of the month of July, please let me know and volunteer for a spot. And who has the blue Toyota parked right up here? I'm going to shut your trunk for you. That's all.
Hi, David McElroy. Next Monday is the men's support group, 6:30 here. We'll be in the back. Are you announcing for yours, Marilyn? Okay, well, she's going to announce hers. Anyway, 6:30 potluck, and bring your own if you don't want to share. That would be really rude. No, just joking. Anyway, 6:30 next. And if you haven't heard anything about, hi, Carl.
By next Monday, you mean a week on Monday.
Yes.
Did I say?
You said next Monday.
Oh yeah, July 14th.
Yeah.
What is, that's a week from tomorrow. That's a week from tomorrow. Just remember that. That's a week from tomorrow, you guys. Don't listen to me. Jeez. I'll eventually get this right.
I'm Janet, and up here you can see that we're having a new Inquiring Minds meeting on July 20th at 12 p.m. right after the service. The topic will be compassion and empathy, and it will be led by Peter Carlson. However, we're also having another meeting just as official, and it didn't get up there. The next meeting is next week, June 13th, at 9 a.m. before the service, and it will be open mic. So we'll just what? July 13th. So it's not up there, but it's just as official, July 13th, 9 a.m., open mic. We'll discuss whatever we feel like discussing.
Women's Social Group will meet on, I guess it's the first Friday, August 1st, the first Friday of the month. Potluck here. I hope to see you.
Hello. So I have two announcements. One is for the chairs. We're still, collecting for the generous. Is there a slide for that, Miguel? There was last week. Doesn't mean there's this week. Sorry about that. So we're still taking donations of any kind. You don't have to pay for a full chair if that's not workable in your budget right now. We all get it. You can do this through Vanco or cash or check. If you do check or cash, be sure to put your name and that it's for the chairs. And we do have the goal. We're trying to raise. We would like to raise $2,800. And so far, if I did my math right, keep in mind I was educated here, so K through college, so math's a little fuzzy. Anyway, $1,500. We've raised $1,500 so far.
Already? Oh,
so.
wow.
And I do have one other announcement. So we have started our new financial year. So if you made any changes to your pledge, whether it's the dollar amount or the method, be sure to update, whether it's Vanco or your bank or whatever, just be sure to do that so it's correct for ongoing for this current financial year. And as always, if you have any questions, just let me know.
Marianne for Pastoral Care. Just a reminder, we do have the basket. It now has a sign sitting over here. So there are blank cards in there. If you'd like to send a card to a fellow member, fill out the card, put it in an envelope, and put their name on the outside. We will address it and put a stamp and send it for you. So if there's someone you would like to cheer up or say congratulations, that's your option. The other is that next Sunday, the 13th, Reverend Kathy will be doing a presentation after service from Pastoral Care. It's open to everyone. It's basically avoiding burnout or how do you stay sane in an insane world. And she's got lots of tips. So I think all of us could use a little sanity these days, so you may want to think about coming. There will be mild snacks, and it will be in the back tomorrow, next Sunday, after service. Thanks.
Hi, Marilyn Fermine. Just announcing the Women's Support Group a week from tomorrow, Monday the 14th at 6:30, potluck. And then supporting each other with joys, concerns, whatever, in a very supportive, non-judgmental way. Women or those who identify as women, please come and join us. This is different. It's here at the church, 6:30, different from the Women's Social Club. They're both valid. And come and join us.
Good morning, Miguel Rodriguez from Social Action Committee. I'm glad Marianne stated about keeping sane. I've mentioned before about, I listened to Reverend Ed Travers on YouTube, and he said, in order to avoid depression a lot of times and feel a sense of hopelessness, remember, we have a mission, and stick to that mission. So let us not forget. That'll keep our minds and bodies occupied and everything. So SAC can help with that. If you want to contribute and help, Social Action Committee is for you. We are next on July 27th, the last Sunday of it's the fourth Sunday of the month we meet every month, and the next one is July 27th at noon, basically. And though it says 11:45, we start around noon for an hour. So hope to see you there. Take care.
As you can see, we have a lot going on here. So if anybody in this room or anybody who's on Zoom is not getting the notable news, I encourage you to either see me after or email our administrator. It's admin@UUF, so you get all the information that's going on here, because it's chock full of information. All right, so my opening words today actually come from the Unitarian Universalist Association website. From June 18th. The Unitarian Universalist Association, UUA, is condemning the U.S. Supreme Court's decision in the United States versus Skermeti case that will harm the rights of transgender youth to receive gender-affirming care in this country. The Supreme Court's decision today will irreparably harm transgender youth by allowing states to deny them the kind of care they need for their physical and mental well-being, said Reverend Dr. Sophia Bentoncourt, the UUA's president. As a part of our faith tradition, Unitarian Universalists embrace transgender, non-binary, intersex, and gender-diverse people. This is a central expression of our faith. We also believe that denying health care to the trans community is a moral violation. We send our love and care to all the trans youth and their families who are directly affected by this ruling. We will keep fighting for you. We will continue to work with and on behalf of the trans and non-binary community to ensure that their dignity as human beings and rights are protected across the country. We will now have our chalice lighting. Oh, we have opening music, and it'll be led by Janet and Gary? Or just Gary? Just Gary.
So Alyssa will play a short introduction. You could please stand if you're willing and able. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build a common good and make our own days glad. For all that serve, for services we give, for work and its reward, for hours of rest and love, we come with praise and thanks. All that is our life. For sorrow we must bear, for failures, pain, and loss, for each other we learn, for fearful hours that pass, we come with praise and thanks. For all that is our life. For all that is our life, we sing our thanks and praise. For all life is a gift, which we are called to use to build the common good and make our own days glad.
We will now have the chalice lighting. Our chalice lighter today, well, Chase, you're already here, is Chase. Chase is 15 years old, uses the pronouns he, him, and he rode his bike and played basketball. Please join me with these words. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. And each week we reaffirm why we come here as a community in our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth in love, and to help one another. I want to take this opportunity to welcome everybody here today, especially if you are a visitor. We are an eclectic congregation with a variety of speakers from our nonprofit organizations. We have various ministers or other religious tradition leaders who come to speak to us. We have members of our own congregation, and of course people from academia from our amazing universities and colleges. So we encourage you to try us out several times. I know a lot of people are trying us out online first, and that's great. You can stay online, but we also encourage you to come here and get to know us in person if you're able to do that. We're a great place. So please join us afterward for coffee, conversation, and snacks and tea. And just take a moment to greet your neighbor. Maybe somebody, if you see somebody you don't know very well, So we'll have a chance to continue those conversations afterward. Our next in our service are our joys and concerns. This is an opportunity for anyone to share a particular joy in their life that they would like to share with us, or a concern or something that may be weighing heavily on their hearts that they would like us to know about. So remember that this is housed on the internet, so it will live beyond today. So don't say anything that you wouldn't want everybody to have access to. Right. And if you need the microphone brought to your seat, just raise your hand and I will do that.
Okay. Yesterday, while I was looking at the most recent edition of National Geographic, they have an article, 6 pages or so, on small villages in Pennsylvania, and they noted several ministers from several different Unitarian churches, which is where Unitarians first began back in the 16th century. I kid you not. Yes. So that tickles me.
Good morning. I'm Lorraine Williams. I made a mistake this morning. I turned on the Weather Channel. Well, yeah, true. I turned on the Weather Channel just to see, what was going on. And of course, the big news is the flooding in Texas going on, which I didn't know anything about. It's devastating. It's horrible. It's all those things. And I'm a little bit worried because the National Weather Service and NOAA have all been cut dramatically. Not Homeland Security, what's the, FEMA is, I think maybe it works pretty good in red states. Of course, Texas is a red state, so maybe they have a chance. It doesn't work anywhere? Okay. But anyway, it really disturbed me because the things that we used to be able to rely on, like with the Weather Service, you would get advance notice and stuff, but maybe they cut the phone line or the internet service, I don't know. It's a really disturbing situation, and I have stopped watching the news, but this morning I did turn on CNN, and after I learned about it on the weather station, and it's altogether despicable. I don't know another good word. So.
Hello, I'm Chloe McElroy. My partner Alyssa is not here today because she came down with a cold and she's not feeling very well, very sniffly and whatnot. So just if you could send her some good vibes, we'd appreciate it. Also, our dog Zoe is off cage rest. Her paw is feeling much better, and she's a very happy girl now that she's not being locked in a cage all the time.
Hi, Rachel Wisner. My joy is that I was able to go up to Pennsylvania for my family reunion, and we had my father's memorial service, which was wonderful. There was a horrible heat wave, but it rained right before the service, so it cooled off a bit, and it just turned out perfect. And then we cocooned in our Airbnb house, all of us together, and it was lovely. My concern is Friday morning I woke up with some chest pain and tightness. I went to the freestanding ED in Oviedo, which was wonderful. They responded quickly, got me checked out. I was admitted to the hospital at Altamont and was there for 2 days. They did a lot of testing. Everything's okay. They've adjusted some of my medications, but I really debated for an hour whether I was going to go in or not, and I just think it's important when you feel something in your body that just doesn't feel right, it's better to err on the side of caution, get checked out. I wore long sleeves so you wouldn't see all the pokes because I'm not a good IV stick. But I'm very tired, but I pulled myself together to get here because after missing 2 weeks on vacation, I couldn't spend another week without coming and being among my people. So thank you very much for your love and support. The one, you know, it's just an ED that's not attached to a hospital. Emergency department, like an emergency room. Yeah, yeah. Yes, that one. And they were so fast. I just felt like I was Kim Kardashian with my glam team. I had someone doing this and that and the other thing, and they were very fast and efficient. So.
I am Peter Carlson. I'm going to repeat what I said last week. These are very stressful times, and I think they're going to get more stressful before they become less stressful. And interestingly enough, next Sunday, Reverend Kathy's going to talk about burnout prevention, but next Saturday I'm going to be leading a one-day mindfulness and breathing meditation retreat in Apopka. That's a great way to not get carried away by stress. So if you're interested, flyers are on the door there, or you can talk to me, and I wish you well.
We have a couple of joys. So this past week, we spent the week in North Carolina, in the mountains, and the weather wasn't perfect, but it was a lot cooler than here. And also, my knee survived a hike up 2 mountains, and I'm very proud of it. I used poles. It was kind of stiff, but it survived. And we spent more than half the vacation at Martha's, actually, and Martha is an amazing host. And we actually did touristy things we never would have done, and we had a fantastic time. So thank you, Martha, if you're listening. And anyway, yeah, okay. Oh.
I have for joy, my dad played basketball.
So mine is actually a PSA. So there's an app on your phone. It's called Ice Block. If you see any ice activity, you just pinpoint. It works like Waze. It's like a crowdsourcing. So you just say where it is, and that way people know to avoid that area. Just a PSA.
I have a concern. As you can see, Victor's not here with me, and that's because his mother's visiting, and she's pushing him to his limit. So, yeah.
Good morning. I'm going by Leela these days, by the way. Thank you, my love. This woman right there is so consistent about calling me Leela. I love it. Unlike Lorraine, I made many mistakes this morning. I haven't eaten. I haven't even drunk anything. It's just, I don't know what's going on, but the news lately has spiraled me into a bit of a funk. So I came here, and you know, they say it's the little things in life. But on the way here, Leonard Skinner's Freebird was playing, and I'm very grateful. It was awesome.
Hi, Marilyn Furmanek, and my joy is that Joey is finally free of her awful tenant. She endured so much, and I don't know if everybody knows, this was the tenant, you know, from an ongoing nightmare, and several of us tried to help. I'm so proud of my daughters that actively helped Joey set up cameras, bring them back down, set them back up, and Alyssa too, who did a lot of record acquiring to see all the past things this tenant had done. And Joey is just a little mighty mouse to endure it all, but we're so happy she's free.
I don't see any joys and concerns from online, but let's take a moment to just, in a couple moments of silence, to think about the joys or the concerns that may have gone unspoken today. Amen. So now we have a special treat. Our Time for All Ages today will be presented by the one and only Joey Cole. So Joey, you have the mic.
This is along the lines of there's nothing new under the sun. I know that most of you know about these kinds of movies. The movies where you wake up in somebody else's body, or people one body to the next, and you were, what's going on? Or you could look back at, Kafka, whose protagonist wakes up as a bug, all kinds of weird things that we've had in our imaginations forever. Where'd they come from, do you think? I want to talk about some of the movies. Now, they go back as far, they go back farther than that, but the first one I really saw reference to was in 1948, a thing called Vice Versa. But I'm just going to talk about ones from maybe the 80s and 90s and early 2000s that you might be familiar with. All of Me is a spiritual body swap film starring two of the greatest comedians in film history, Steve Martin and Lily Tomlin. They're sharing control of the same body. Millionaire Edwina Cutwater Tomlin has a plan to live beyond her failing body's lifespan. She will have a mystic guru transfer her soul into the body of a younger woman, Terry, that's played by Victoria Tennant, who will have her own soul released into the universe. Edwina's jaded lawyer, Roger, Steve Martin, thinks the idea is ludicrous, but regardless, he fixes Edwina's will so that her new body will inherit her fortune. The procedure goes sideways, though, and Edwina's soul ends up trapped in Roger's body, with both personalities vying for physical and mental control. It's hilarious. In what amounts to a riff on classic Vice Versa, that's the 1948 story, Like Father, Like Son, in 1987, is a goofy comedy about a father and son switching bodies and struggling to live each other's lives. The film stars Dudley Moore as Jack Hammond, a surgeon who has difficulty getting along with his teenage son, Kirk Cameron. When Jack mistakenly ingests a Native American brain transference serum, he winds up swapping bodies with Chris. Hijinks ensue, and each of their personal and professional lives are in serious peril as they frantically try to find a way to switch back. Young Josh, now this is my absolute favorite, one of my very favorites, not the favorite, but my very favorite Tom Hanks movies, Big. 1988. Young Josh Braskin is tired of being short. He wants to be big. And after he makes a wish while using a fortune-telling machine, Josh wakes up the next morning as an adult man with a young boy's mind. Director Penny Marshall and star Tom Hanks team up to create some of the most memorable moments in film history. And it's safe to say most film fans are familiar with the movie, even if you haven't seen it. And then we come to some of the most recent ones. Freaky Friday, bet some of you remember that, is one of the classic teen movies of the early 2000s, with top billing going to Lindsay Lohan. Originally a children's novel written by Mary Rogers in 1972, Freaky Friday takes your typical angsty teen versus strict mom story and reverses them. Anna, played by Lindsay Lohan, dreams of being a rock musician, but her widowed workaholic mother, Tess, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, isn't so keen. They argue relentlessly. They wake up in each other's bodies, forced to continue living their lives without drawing suspicious. Freaky Friday takes the phrase, walk a mile in someone else's shoes, very literally, forcing Anna and Tess to see eye to eye. And then there's one that I skipped because it's a little more on the negative side, and that's Being John Malkovich. How many of you saw quite the cult film for a while there? And the final one I'm just going to mention is 13 Going on 30. One of the characters jumping between time in their own body. It was released as 30 in some countries. Gary Winnick's rom-com centers on a protagonist who's excited to become an adult, so much so that she wishes for it at just 13 years of age. Jenna wakes up in New York, relieved to find she is no longer a geek and is now working as an editor for her favorite fashion magazine. Of course, she's also a little confused about how she got there. With no memory of the past 17 years, Jenna brings the poppy energy of a delighted 13-year-old to the much less glamorous reality of adulthood. Jennifer Garner's bright performance was particularly praised and is guaranteed to bring a smile to your face. Now, these are mostly lighthearted. Not all transference ones were lighthearted. Sometimes you were in another kind of a situation where things didn't go so well. Now, I want you to stop for a moment in the midst of all that lightheartedness of transferring bodies and so forth, and think about it. What would you do if you woke up tomorrow morning and you were in another body? How confusing would that be? How disorienting. Now, think about if you were born into another body. A body that is yours, that you love because it is you, and yet it doesn't feel like you inside. How would you feel? How would you react? How would you deal with that? Most of us know someone who has had that experience and has either adapted or attempted to change in adaptation. That's what I want you to think about today. That's all.
Thank you very much, Joey. So now is our time for our interlude and offering. This is an opportunity to give generously to our congregational needs. We do share 40% of the loose offering with a nonprofit every quarter. Right now it's the Hope Community Center in Apopka who works with our immigrant population. So I encourage you to give generously. And you can, the chair slide was on a different one. So please feel free to give, and we will have some music led by Janet.
Okay, if you're following along in the hymnal, it's going to be verses 1, 2, and 5 today, and Alicia is going to give us a brief intro. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are a justice-seeking people, and we are singing for our lives. We are gay and straight together, and we are singing for our lives.
singing, singing for our lives.
And now, any children who are in the room may be welcome to go to RE. I will sing them out. We love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. We are lucky today to have Amelia Burgos with us as our speaker. Amelia is the Orlando Development Leader with Equality Florida, which is the state's largest LGBTQ civil rights organization. Her presentation provides an overview of Equality Florida's programs, the wins that they've had this year, and her story as a trans woman advocate and veteran. Equality Florida and UUs share a belief in the inherent worth and dignity of every human being, and more. As we end this weekend of celebrating our freedoms, let's remember we are not there yet for all of us. Amelia, please join us up here.
Hi, everybody. Thank you all so much for having me here today. I mentioned it to a couple people I talked to. I haven't stepped into a church in over 10 years. What happened? Oh yeah, no, I can't say that tomorrow. It's like the reverse of like those accident signs in like those warehouses and stuff. We're like accident free but I'm actually happy to be here and not happy that I'm happy that it's resetting to 0. No, thank you. It's been everybody here has been extremely welcoming. Hearing just what everybody has to say and just kind of the commitment that you all have to equality, I think falls very much in line with our work as an organization and the world that we're looking to hopefully one day achieve. So thank you all again so much. So the presentation today is called Turning the Tide, the Fight for LGBTQ Rights, which has kind of been our motto over the last couple years as we're trying to shift from a place of confusion and hatred and into a place of love and acceptance. And so we call it Turning the Tide, and that being our primary objective is to kind of turn that tide for everyone. Let's see if I remembered how to do this. Cool. So quick table of contents. So we're just going to do an overview of everything, a quick touch on the history of Equality Florida, a touch on the current state of equality and rights across the country and in the state of Florida, the programs that my organization does across the state and within the community to help LGBTQ individuals, a bit of my story and just kind of how I've gotten to this point here in my life, and then just a quick little QR code on how you can get involved in volunteering with us and helping us on our fight towards equality. So that's me. So I'm the state's, I'm the Orlando's development leader, which is essentially a fundraiser. But I also am very passionate about advocacy and just sharing my story with as many people as I can. I believe each story has its purpose. Each one of us live a life that is unique to us. But also a life that other people need to see has been lived so they can see it for themselves. And so I kind of have that as my driving force into why I'm even in this work to begin with, outside of my own personal journey with it all, being transgender. But yes, that's a quick little snippet of me. You'll get more later. Gotta keep you on your toes. So overview. So I already said all that. No, so we're going to be talking about Equality Florida, what basic rights look like, and just kind of what our overall goal is. Here's a quote from Marsha P. Johnson. She was one of the leaders during the Stonewall riots, and she was a transgender woman, and it really spearheaded the fight for equality and everything that led into the first Pride happening. But no pride for some of us without liberation for all of us. And I think, being even more than 50 years removed from that initial event, I think that still rings true. And I think it's something we can still carry forward with us. So this was No King's Day, June 14th. I don't know if, was anybody there? Oh, hi. So that was God, there's a lot of you. That was me on the steps giving a speech during the event. If you heard me, cool. If you didn't, it was extremely loud, and there was I think the final count was somewhere around 10,000 people were in the downtown area that day. Yeah. So it's something like 3% of a society, just 3% of a society standing up in opposition of any unjust action is what's needed to enact change. And so that day, the country as a whole, I think over 12 million people, which is about 3% of America's population, and even us as a small sample size of that, the 10,000 within Orlando, and I think we have about 300,000 or so people in Orlando, also represented 3%. And so, it shows that if anybody's seen the movie A Bug's Life, it's a Disney Pixar movie, but in the movie there's a portion where the villain is a grasshopper who's trying to stop these ants, and they're just using the ants as slaves essentially to farm their crop and to get them their food for each year. And one of the grasshoppers goes, well, they're just ants, they can't do anything to us. And the main villain grabs like a piece of grain and throws it at the grasshopper, and he's like, did that hurt? And he's like, no. And he grabs another grain and throws it at another grasshopper. He's like, did that hurt? He's like, no. And then he just unleashes the latch of all the grain, and the 3 grasshoppers that were questioning him get completely overtaken by all the grain. And he's like, these are the ants. And the minute they realize this is them is the minute that we no longer have the life that we've set up for ourselves. And we are the ants. And so that 3% is, why it may seem like a small number, is the first step in getting us towards a much more welcoming society. So I was happy to speak there, and I'm happy to be here right now as well. So, so this is a bit of our history. So Equality Florida was founded in 1997 by Nadine Smith and Stratton Pulitzer. They are still our acting directors and executive directors to this day. We're the largest civil rights organization. We're the largest civil rights organization dedicated to securing full equality for Florida's lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. We are also the largest of our kind across the country. There is no larger statewide LGBTQ organization. And I think that's one, because of the amazing work of our founders, but 2, just because of the necessity of it in the state. We have kind of gotten to a point where we are seen as the leaders on this front, because with our climate as it is in Florida and the attacks that have been happening here for several years on our communities, we've kind of been the leaders on that front on how to combat those attacks and how to kind of ensure that despite the hate and the the lack of understanding that there can be in regards to our community, that there are ways to combat it, and there's ways to still overcome and still push forward despite the anti-legislation that we have against us. So we've become like that leader. Nadine actually just spent some time in Italy with leaders across the world, asking what we're doing in Florida and how they can do it in their countries. So it's definitely it's extremely humbling to be a part of, while overwhelming at the same time. But it's beautiful to see so many people, just consistently come together to kind of push forward towards this fight. So we serve over 1 million LGBTQ plus Floridians. We have 450,000 members, 13,500 plus volunteers, and this year so far we've attended over 200 plus events. So whether that be prides, and we're a team of, all these individuals, and then our organization itself, we're a team of about 40 people, plus a few fellows we bring in, so we are constantly in our community, letting them see us and letting them know that we are doing this work and that they're not alone, and making ourselves visible. I've attended several of those 200 events myself, not just in Orlando, but across the state. This year so far, I've been to Tallahassee for several events, Gainesville, St. Pete, Tampa, Miami, here, everything around here, so Kissimmee, and it's just, the people, just like you all grow, we're on the same mission of people are only going to know you're there if you're visible, and so we try to be as visible as we can. So we have 2,000 plus gala sponsors, that's my wheelhouse. Typically, we host an annual gala, and it's we have them in 10 different communities, our larger. So here, Tallahassee, St. Pete, Jacksonville, Tampa, Miami, West Palm, the Keys, Broward, Sarasota. I probably missed something. I don't know. There's a bunch of them. There's 10 of them, so I guess not a bunch, but it's an annual event we host every year. It's the biggest driver behind our fundraising each year, where we raise the most money we get to continue to do the work that we're doing. Ours is in November 1st this year, so if anybody's interested, come talk to me afterwards. It's going to be Wizard of Oz themed. It's it's usually a lot more, I don't want to say doom and gloom, but it's usually a lot more focused on a political climate. And this year I was like, look, we have enough of it in our face every year. Let's just have a day that we can, we know what's going on, we know the work that's happening. Let's have a day for us where we can just all get together and have fun. And so we decided Wizard of Oz, Wicked comes out like 2 weeks, or Wicked Part 2 comes out like 2 weeks afterwards. And so it's a whole thing. Yeah. So that's that. So these are our fundamental needs. If you know anybody who's in the community, if you're just now meeting someone, if I'm your first interaction to a transgender person, essentially, we just want equality, respect, and dignity. And I think as humans, we can all agree that that's all any of us want, and that's all any of us are looking for. And so, yeah, that's all it is, and the media always tries to portray it as much more than that, but really that's all any of us want. We just want basic human dignity, and so, yeah. Here's the biggest scope of our laws as far as like what impacts us positively or negatively. Marriage rights, parenting rights, housing, employment, HIV prevention, and trans rights. And here's just kind of a basic evolution of where we've come over the years. So 1969 was the Stonewall riots, which I mentioned a bit ago. 1970, the first Pride marches started to take place. 1973, homosexuality was removed from the DSM as a mental disorder. Which DSM is the governing rule book over what is constituted as a mental disorder or not. So they removed homosexuality in 1973. 1978, the Pride flag was created, the first one. Just the rainbow flag you're used to seeing. 1994, Don't Ask, Don't Tell, started in the military, which later on was seen as a bad thing, but at the time was a win because it finally allowed LGBTQ individuals to serve in the military, which wasn't the case prior to. In 2014, it was repealed, which allowed them to actually serve openly. So now they were allowed to serve, but they could also serve as themselves. 2015, marriage equality was achieved, and the anniversary for that was actually just like last week or 2 weeks ago. So that's 10 years anniversary this year. And then in 2020, Supreme Court passed protections for LGBTQ individuals under the Civil Rights Act, which was huge at the time and is still huge. But since 2022, things have kind of taken especially for trans people, things have kind of taken a backwards movement. Whereas everything I showed you here was progressing towards equality and equal rights. Starting in 2022, a significant push towards an attack on trans people began, much more so than any time prior to, and so we have begun a period of moving backwards, and so the inability to update gender markers on federal documents, the inability to update gender markers on state IDs, Florida being one of them. My license still says male, which actually used to say female, and then they switched back to male. The inability to use gender-affirming bathrooms in government buildings, and in some states in public restrooms as well. Athletes being banned from sports, banned from serving in the military. I actually served for 13 years and can no longer serve should I have chosen I wanted to go back in or anything like that. I am now banned from being in the military despite my previous contribution. Oh, thank you. Gender-affirming care being banned for youth, which you all touched on at the beginning of service, and it's been made incredibly difficult for adults to access as well. It used to be we can get gender-affirming care from nurse practitioners, which in Florida, as a bit of information I know, having been impacted, roughly I think 85% of adults receive their care from nurse practitioners, and they passed legislation saying that it had to be a doctor that provided you your care. And that caused an influx of people being removed off their care because there's only so many doctors and so many trans people and people trying to get in, and they couldn't get in because the doctors' offices were full. And I think things are starting to balance out and people have figured it out. It's been a few years now, so people have started to kind of get into it, but there was a significant period of time where our care was affected. I was off hormones for like 6 months while I tried to figure it out. Yeah, and among other things. Unfortunately, I say that with a nervous chuckle. So that's kind of the state of affairs right now, and that's part of what my organization is spearheading as far as trying to ensure that we get a lot of these things, stop them from happening in our state, and hopefully create a framework that allows them to stop happening across the country and even worldwide. I should. Yeah. This is Pride at the Capitol. And so Pride at the Capitol is I'll keep it up. It's a annual event we do. We go to Tallahassee We get hundreds of people from across the state. This year we had nearly 500 people funnel through. And we go to Tallahassee and we talk to all of our legislators, the Senate, the House, both sides of the aisle, and we just express our concerns. We get meetings with all of them. We split into teams. So this year there's, I think on the day of, I think that was a Tuesday, there was over 400 of us in that picture. We split into like 40 teams, and we all just separately met with all of our legislators. And if they weren't available, met with their aides, met with whoever we could to express our concerns about some of the anti-LGBTQ legislation that was being put forward this past year. And so, beautiful event. If it's something you're ever interested in, just from a learning perspective, it's very eye-opening just how the legislative process works, and sitting in committee meetings and just seeing it all happen in person and not just on a news blurb or like watching the Florida channel or something. Like witnessing it is a completely different it's a completely different thing, and it was an amazing experience. So yeah, that was us. I'm in the front over there somewhere next to someone. I'm next to Vin. You don't know who Vin is. And I'm next to Vance Aarons, if you know who Vance Aarons is. He was a transgender candidate who ran for office in Brevard. She did incredibly well. Yeah. And it was not what anyone expected. For you know, and 9 points may sound like a significant loss, and in some cases, you know, depending on what type of race it is, it is. But in that county, 9 points she might as well have been within one. Like just to explain just how unsurmountable the gap felt, and she pushed through it. So Vance is amazing. But yeah, so that was Pride at the Capitol. And then quickly I'll highlight our programs. So public policy and community organizing, which is kind of what Pride at the Capitol is. As the only LGBTQ organization with a full-time presence in the state capitol, we work to educate Floridians on the benefits of pro-equality bills and policies and the dangers of anti-LGBTQ legislation. Safe and healthy schools and parenting with pride. We work closely with districts in implementing comprehensive best practices and policies to support and affirm LGBTQ students in Florida's 3 million plus student school system. We also provide parents with the resources they need to support their LGBTQ children. And then just a couple little facts, because this is, I think the program, everything we do is amazing. This is the one I think I'm the most impressed with what they do. They have a very small team. There's like 4 of them. And that team has just grown. Prior to that, there was like 2 people on that team. And over the past year, they worked with over 80 superintendents and school board members. They've developed, over the last several years, developed and implemented LGBTQ affirming policies in 13 school districts across the state, which assured protections for nearly 2 million students. They provided culturally competent professional development to nearly 40,000 principals, mental health professionals, teachers, and other school staff. We were recently able to expand and hire a Central Florida leader there and a South Central Florida leader there, so like the Tampa Bay area and then our area. We've hired 2 new staff members to help supplement this work. We've empowered over 1,800 parents to attend 230 plus school board meetings in 44 counties to advocate for safe learning environments. And yeah, that's just a few of the highlights from just that program and what they're able to do with such a small team, and the impact it has to ensuring that if you do have LGBTQ youth in your life or children, to know that we are doing everything we can to ensure their protections in schools. And if anything ever does happen to them in a way that they're discriminated against or anything like that, we are a phone call away, and we know the people to make sure that that doesn't happen going forward. So transgender equality. So we're a leading voice in representing and supporting Florida's transgender community through diversity training, advocacy and resource provisions, HIV advocacy and education. So our goal is to curb the rate of new HIV transmissions in Florida and end the HIV stigma through statewide public education campaigns and policy work. which actually this past year we were able to, as a result of this, we were able to get a bill passed to ensure protections for PrEP and PEP, which are HIV preventative medications, and we were able to get that. We were able to pass legislation to ensure that everybody has access to those medications. And so just one of the wins we were able to have throughout this time. Equality means business and open to all. It's just our ability to improve Florida's reputation as a welcoming place to live, work, and visit. And we work with businesses to ensure that they promote those values and show that they're open to all.
How's that working?
It's honestly on the back burner right now. The person we had heading that, she took on a new role with another organization, and so we are looking to backfill that position hopefully soon. But prior to that, it was working extremely well. We were creating a lot of close partnerships and relationships and doing a lot of training with businesses that were either reaching out to us or us just simply reaching out to them and saying, hey, we would love to come in and just give you a kind of a framework of what it looks like to accept LGBTQ individuals in your workspace and how you can protect them within the workspace. But it's been, I want to say about a year now that we've been kind of, it's still going on, but my director is the one that's heading it right now, and he's split by so many things that he kind of hasn't put as much into it as it was getting previously, but hoping to bring that back and push that, because I think it's important to not only have those protections, but to just let people know that you shouldn't be scared of coming to Florida, despite what you may see on the news or whatever. And I'm a firm believer that that people inherently aren't bad. People inherently don't want to hurt or damage people. They just don't understand. And so work like that, I think, is important to ensure that we continue to push that understanding and give people that comfort. So then we have our health equity program. So health equity, we partner with healthcare and mental health facilities to ensure they provide the compassion and sensitivity that LGBTQ patients deserve by advocating for inclusive policies and increasing cultural competence among healthcare providers. And so this is another one where we've provided culturally competent professional development to nearly 40,000 healthcare workers across the state. And we've implemented inclusive. We've worked with healthcare providers across the state to introduce inclusive check-in forms and stuff that add non-binary, that don't make you feel singled out as a trans person or anything like that. So a lot of work being done in that regard as well, partnering with just hospitals and even small clinics and everything across the entire state. Reproductive rights. So Equality Florida has been a pro-choice organization since our founding, and we know that LGBTQ and abortion rights are deeply intertwined. And so we're a proud founding partner of Floridians Protecting Freedom and serve on the statewide advisory board. Oh yeah, now it's me, I guess. Okay. I don't have a slide for me. I mean, I do, but I don't have any other slides after this. Anybody have any questions? That was a lot of information. Yes.
How did you?
Wait a second.
Oh yeah.
So
that works.
So our folks at home can also hear.
Your history about how you became you.
Everybody would love-
I'm gonna get, if anybody,
No, we want to hear that
in like 2 seconds.
Hear that first, or do you want to? Because Q&A could last a long time, and we have to be
Okay.
cognizant of time. But
Gotcha.
I think
Okay.
I'd like to hear your story.
Okay. Cool. Okay, cool. Clearly I want to avoid talking about myself. No, I'm fine. I'm good. I know I put it there. So I was born in 1991. No, so yeah. Are you too? Oh, awesome. So I was born and raised in Orlando, Florida. I've been here my entire life. I was born. It was the Florida Hospital downtown. It's Advent Health now, because I wasn't Winnie Palmer and Honor Palmer. None of that existed yet. So I've been here my whole life. I spent a few years in Tampa during high school. But other than that, been here my whole life. I grew up in a very Catholic household. I'm Hispanic. I'm Puerto Rican. I just got a really good tan. But I grew up in a very Catholic household, and so between that and, because I don't want to blame any one thing, between that and my heritage, being anything other than what I was predisposed to be is kind of a sin. So I think I have known I was trans since I was like 7 or 8. I didn't have a word for it because, I mean, when you're a child, who has a word for it? Especially, this was not pre-internet, but I mean, the internet, you had to there was AOL had just started, I think. So you didn't really have access to the resources and the words and just everything that people have access to now to kind of help them understand themselves. I didn't have that, so I just knew that I had these thoughts that I felt wrong in my body. I would fantasize about waking up in another body, and it's so interesting that that was the time for all ages, because I was resonating with a lot of that sitting back there in a way that I've never really connected to before. I've seen Freaky Friday. The second one comes out in a few months. I'm super excited. But I've never really put the story in that perspective before. And so I spent a lot of time just kind of knowing that there was something wrong, but also telling myself there was nothing I can do about it. And not wanting to understand it and being fearful of even bringing it up because of what I thought could happen. Even as adults, our imaginations run wild with possibilities anytime you're approaching a stressful situation. And so I ran through, every possible scenario, and none of them ended well ever. And so, I just kind of continued to suppress those thoughts throughout my life and push them down. And so throughout the years, it only got harder to do. As the years went on, birthdays, I would blow out the candles and be like, I wish I could be a girl for a day, and just stuff I would see a shooting star, just stuff like that, just the stuff that you see in those movies. You hope that maybe it is real. And it was a way for me to maybe have it without being the one that did it, because I couldn't come to terms with it myself. And so the years went by, and I did what I thought I should, which was join the military. So I joined the military when I was 17. Yeah, my mom had to sign a waiver and everything. So I joined the military at 17. I met my now ex-wife, but we're best friends now. But I met my now ex-wife at 19. We got married at 25. I bought a house at 23. I served in the military. I had a career in logistics for 13 years, working for Disney. I had a kid. He's 4. I love him. He's the best. But this whole time I was living someone else's life. And while I don't regret many of the things, I don't regret meeting my wife. I don't regret my time in the military. I definitely don't regret having my son. But I spent my whole entire life living in a way that people expected me to. I was expected to hold this masculine gender role, so that's what I did. I was expected to join the military because that's what my grandfather wanted for his grandchildren, and I was the only one capable of doing it, so I did. I was expected to have a kid, so I did. I was expected to get married, so I did. I was expected to be the man of the house, so I learned how to fix cars and fix holes in the wall and a whole bunch of stuff that I had zero interest or zero passion in doing, but it's what I was expected to do, so I just did it. And all as a way to kind of deflect from myself. It was all just me pushing myself further and further down until there was nowhere else for me to push. And so after I had my son was kind of when I really, for the first time in my life, put myself in perspective. And I was in a very dark place for years. But after having my son, it got a lot worse, and like suicidal ideation and just I achieved everything I was supposed to achieve. So what else is there for me now? And I still couldn't be me. So I got stuck because I didn't know where else to go from that point. And just one day it was, I don't know, he must have been like 4 or 5 months old, and he woke up crying in the middle of the night, and I was just like rocking him back to sleep, and I was like, I have to figure this out for him. And so I started going to therapy, and started to kind of talk about my emotions, my feelings, just kind of navigate through everything. And for the first time, I just came to the realization that I was transgender, and I told myself, okay, well, I've learned this now, I've accepted it, but I can't do anything about it. I can't risk my marriage. I can't risk losing family, friends. I can't risk my career. I can't risk the military. And so I sat with it for nearly a year after that. And because this was all maybe July of 21. No, like June of 21. And so I sat with it, and around February, I chose the greatest day ever. It was, I think, the day before, or it might have been Valentine's Day. But I decided, let me tell my wife that I'm trans today. So, great timing on my part. But, yeah, here's some flowers, by the way. But yeah, so I decided to tell her. And I'm fortunate, because not a lot of people can tell this story the way I'm telling it, be here in front of you and be able to tell it, and also be able to say what I'm about to say, which is her very first thing was, what can I do for you? Yeah. Yeah. And, yeah, no, thank you. And I ran through every scenario in my head, like I said earlier, and that option was never one of the scenarios I ran through. Those words were never something that I heard her say to me while I was navigating it. And so from that point on, you know, we navigated our stuff. We decided we should separate for a number of reasons, which I won't get into, but the primary being that we needed to do everything we could to be true to ourselves, and we needed to do everything we could to make sure that we could be on the best terms possible to give our son the best life possible. And so navigating that throughout the year. So I came out to her, and then I slowly started coming out to more people. I started a medical transition about a month after I told her, through hormones. Yeah, and then the rest of the year was it was a roller coaster of coming out to some people and losing them, coming out to others, keeping them. But the one thing I learned throughout all of that is that despite how hard the losses were, it was also almost liberating in a way to know that the people that I still had in my life, they were there for me. They weren't there for my identity. They weren't there for some arbitrary reason. They weren't there to fake being around while it was convenient for them. They were there to support me and be there for me. And so it was a very good feeling when I finally kind of realized how powerful that was. And so November 10th, which is the day before my birthday, I was born 11/11, I'm lucky. But November 10th, the day before my birthday, I decided to, at that point I had already told my close family, I told my close friends, I told everybody, so I decided to come out publicly. So this is all 2022. I spent the following year just kind of navigating what that looked like, figuring out myself, how do I present, how do I act, what is my name, who am I? Like, I had never really put myself first, so I didn't, like, do I still like the same things? Who is Amelia? What does she like? What does she want to do? Like, and so I spent, and I'm still doing it now, but I spent the remainder of that year kind of navigating that, and the rest of my life, yeah. No, all of us, yeah. Oh, thank you. So I kind of spent the rest of my year navigating, like, what do I want? And the thing that kept coming back to me is, when I came out, I told myself I was just going to be silent because I was scared of what was happening. I was like, I'm just going to, now I'll live my truth, but I'll live it silently. And the thing that kept coming back to me, though, was I couldn't. I couldn't be silent. I knew what people were facing. I know the voice I have. I know just who I am as a person, and I knew I needed to be more involved. And so I decided to leave behind my career in logistics, and I decided to look into how can I get involved in advocacy. And I was looking for volunteer opportunities initially, and that led me to finding just a job posting with Equality Florida. I applied for it. This was like November or December of 23, and I got it. And with zero experience, with zero anything, just me interviewing, being fortunate to have gotten that opportunity, and just kind of advocating for myself and why I want to do this and why I want to be involved, and they saw something in me, and here I am about a year and a half later, in a church, voluntarily. And there's a lot more to my story, it's to all of ours. You can't wrap up 33 years and 5 minutes, but that's just that was kind of my path to getting here, and thank you. Thank you, I appreciate you. Once again, thank you all for having me. It really is, it is beautiful being here. It's been beautiful being able to just talk to you all, be able to hear your joys and concerns, being able to hear the lovely messages that Ann and Joey have had for us. Like, just being here has been, growing up the way I did, I had a very sour relationship with religion. No, thank you. Thank you. I will. I'll try. But yeah, so, but being able to see this and just seeing, the joy and the love that you all have, and knowing that it's, like I said with other things, it's not just what you see in the media. There are people who love you everywhere, and you just have to be willing to seek them and to allow them to find you. And so thank you all so much. So I got, if this thing works, no, it's not working.
Would you be kind to stay after during coffee hour if people have questions and things like that?
Yeah, no, for sure. So if you want to learn how to volunteer, just scan that QR code. It'll take you there. So I'll leave that up for a second, and then.
Amazing work. Amazing. Clearly.
Thank you. You'll stay after for coffee?
Yeah, no, I'll stay after.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
Amelia will be here for coffee after. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And then there's just one more with like my information on it. But yeah, if you guys have anything, I'll be here. But I'll just be sitting back in the corner. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And you have Amelia's information there, and I'm sure we'll have it in the notable news if you all want to, if you didn't get a chance to write it down. So we're going to extinguish the chalice right now. You want to say with me the words on the screen. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And our closing music will be America the Beautiful.
So if you memorize this in grade school, these are not quite the lyrics. So follow the lyrics on the wall. Stand up if you can. Reach for the sky. No. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountains, majesties above the fruited plain. America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining sea. Oh, beautiful for everyone, each heart and soul and voice, for love and truth with dignity, let every heart rejoice. America, America, embrace diversity, and crown thy good with justice true and proud equality. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed His grace on thee, and crown thy good with brotherhood, from sea to shining
This was actually the first year in my whole life that I didn't want to celebrate the 4th of July. It was really strange on Friday, but I'm glad to be here with everybody here, and that kind of boosted me up. So I've gone to this century, and I asked ChatGPT to generate my closing words. This was Maddie's suggestion. So I think the thing did a pretty good job. Come, you who are joyful, you who are burdened, you who are brave, and you who are still becoming brave. Come with your full selves, your questions, your identities, your stories, your truths. In this space, we honor the sacred worth of every person. We recognize that love wears many faces, and that the journey toward justice is one we take together. We celebrate the beauty, strength, and resilience of the LGBTQ plus people and communities. We lift up pride, not just as a celebration, but as resistance, as healing, and as homecoming. Let us go forth in love. Let us go forth in hope. Let us go forth together. Pretty good. And now please enjoy some coffee and conversation. Thank you. Oh, sorry, the postlude, I forgot.